Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 115. Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Jill. Chris and I are the founders of the Becoming Ellie community.
The Becoming Ellie community is for women over 50 who are interested in being fit, strong, and healthy.
We named our group Becoming Ellie because Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging. She beat Thor in a wrestling match. We thought, hey, we want to be like Ellie.
You can find out more about the Becoming Ellie community and sign up for our newsletter at our website, becomingellie.com. And Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I.
Hey, Chris, we have a call out today. Lisa Bartlett, who we talked to back in episode 86, she recently completed her first triathlon. And I was so impressed with her. She worked really hard training for it, and she did it.
Yes. Did you see how hot it was for her race? She lives out in Arizona. It was 96 degrees. That's unbelievably hot for running and biking.
Oh, I know. I checked, and just so everyone knows, 96 degrees Fahrenheit is 36 degrees Celsius. And yes, that is really hot. If it was that hot in Ohio, they would have canceled the race, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You really need to be careful when it's hot. It's easy to get heat stroke. And we have some blog posts about how to avoid heat stroke and running in the heat if you want to check it out on our website.
Yeah. So you need to make sure you dress for heat and plan on serious rehydration and realize that you're going to be slower than you probably planned on for your run.
Yes, and sometimes people don't realize with the sun too, if you don't put on suntan lotion, you can get suntan or you can get heat from, your sunburn along the way as well. I know I've had to get sagged from a couple of different events that I was in because of too much heat. And it's just when it starts getting really hot out there, it's nothing you want to mess with because you start to not think clearly, and you really want to be sure that you stay safe.
Right. Yes. Oh, and one more thing about the heat. If you take your dog on runs, be very careful with your dogs in the heat because they have an even harder time with heat than we do. And also be aware that paved surfaces can get really hot. And that a dog's paws can get burned on the road or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's enough talk about running in the heat, but we're really proud of Lisa Bartlett finishing her first triathlon. Way to go.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess now we should talk about today's podcast. We're talking to Lisa Swanson. Lots of Lisas today, but we're talking to Lisa Swanson, who is a health coach who focuses on helping women over 50 lose weight and live a healthier life.
Our listeners are going to like what Lisa has to say. Let's go to the podcast. Lisa Swanson is the most sought-after expert on helping women over 50 crush their weight loss goals in a naturally progressive way that boosts metabolism, burns belly fat, and keeps it off. Through her signature B.A.S.E model, combining fitness, nutrition, and mindset, women over 50 are finally getting the results they've been struggling to get on their own without deprivation diets or hours at the gym. Instead, she's teaching them how to enjoy the journey and letting go of limiting beliefs that have been holding them back.
Lisa is a certified health coach, personal trainer, orthopedic exercise specialist through the American Council on Exercise, or AASE, and nutritionist through Precision Nutrition and the American Academy of Sport Dietitians and Nutritionist, or AASDN. And she has 35 years of experience.
Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for being our guest.
I am very excited to be here today, Chris.
Let's start with, why do you focus on women over 50 as a health coach?
I came to that through my journey. At one time I, trained anybody and everybody. I think when we're young and in our 20s, that's how we want to just train everyone. And as I grew in my business and accumulated all these certifications that you have rattled off, I grew as a woman myself. And as I was training my trainers and noticing that my younger trainers didn't really understand the women over 50, didn't understand what they were going through. And, to be honest, I probably first started with women over 40, but I just saw a need that women over 50 needed some direction to be told exactly, the truth about being able to get in shape and not being told, well, just accept it, you're older. I even went to my doctor one time and we were having a discussion on weight, and not that I was overweight. Actually, I just wanted to work on my body composition. I had let some muscle go and I said, I just want to change that a little bit. And my doctor, a woman, actually said to me, well, you can forget about that. That'll never happen.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Was that your reaction too?
Yes. I think I looked dumbfounded, I'm sure. And I just said, do you know what I do for a living? Like, I'm like, if this is possible, and I really hope you don't tell any other patients that, what a horrible thing to say. And I just feel women are very much dismissed and can feel invisible. I have so many people reach out to me and say, oh, thank God I found somebody who focuses on women over 50. But just a real quick story. It really came about body and soul coaching and focusing on this because of a walk that I took one day. I had turned 50 myself. And I was going through this time of feeling very disconnected to myself spiritually and emotionally. I was a workaholic, it was, hit the grind and just keep on going, hustle, 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 run all my businesses. Yay. And I just realized, wait a minute, who am I? Who am I without all of this? And what do I actually want to do? And where is my intuition? Where is my connection to spirit, to myself, to my soul? And that's where body and soul came from. And I said, well, the other women are probably on this journey too.
That's good.
Isn't it amazing how those walks can really bring great inspiration?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really brings it all together, doesn't it?
It really does. Get out in nature, guys. That really does it.
Lisa, everything seems to change as we age, how we look and how we feel. Why is that?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
There are so many things happening. Well, obviously we have hormonal shifts as we're going to perimenopause or menopause, postmenopause. That is all happening. Our metabolism starts slowing down. Our cells rejuvenate at a slower rate. And it's also not just biologically what's going on with our body. It's also what's going on in our minds. I think part of it is that we start thinking, I'm older and I need to slow down. I'm older and I can't reach this goal anymore. I'm older and I shouldn't be able to do these things. So there are so many different working parts to this that correlate to how we end up physically. I think it's also important that people know that regardless of what's happening, even though we're slowing down, we still can achieve things that we achieved when we were younger. Might not do it as quickly, but we can still achieve what we once had.
Okay, great.
I know we talk about menopause and perimenopause for women over 50. Can you give us an idea of what effect menopause does have on our bodies?
Well, let's see. There's a lot of different side effects and symptoms that we have because of our hormonal changes. I think one of the biggest ones that people, women would want to know about is why the belly fat? Because this is what I get asked about constantly is, well, why am I never gained belly fat before? I didn't gain weight. I look in the mirror and I don't recognize my own body. And it's because we start gaining differently, because we do not have the estrogen levels that we had before, that cortisol plays a much bigger role in what's happening in our bodies. You see, estrogen actually protected us from the effects of cortisol. So now we're very susceptible to stress. And as stress, that stress hormone of cortisol comes up. And although cortisol is needed on some level, it gets us up in the morning. It helps us to build muscle. It also is known as that stress hormone that puts the fat on, the belly fat on, the back fat on, the torso fat. And that's because we don't have as much estrogen anymore. So that's, I think, one of the biggest changes. But I think another thing has to do with people have to realize you can balance your hormones. I'm not talking about estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone. I mean, that's going down. Those levels have gone down. That's unless you want to do hormone replacement therapy. And I'm not an expert in that. But there's other things happening. If you're not sleeping well and you have a lot of stress, then our hormones are going to be affected by that. And you're not going to sleep as well. And guess what happens when you sleep? Your hormones balance out while we sleep, right? So if you're not getting sleep, it's going to perpetuate the problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you've sort of just touched on this, but are our weight and fitness problems always linked to menopause? Is there anything else going on for women over 50 besides menopause? I mean, that's enough, but.
That is enough. No, well, I always say, it's linked to our metabolism. And because our metabolisms are like a big stress barometer, any stress that you put on it, your metabolism is going to react in one or two ways. It's either going to slow down and say, okay, I don't know what you're doing, so I'm just going to slow right down. Your metabolism could care less if you want to fit into a size 8 pair of jeans. It's going to say, I'm slowing down because I need to keep you safe. Or it's going to go the other route and say, I'm going to make you really hungry and start having some cravings going on. So I think that's the biggest part, is that we've sort of messed around with our metabolism by going on crazy diets or exercising way too much than we need to and just putting more and more stress on our body. I think stress is probably one of the biggest culprits of why women are struggling with losing weight.
Okay, great.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how we can lower cortisol?
Oh, absolutely.
We talk a lot about trying to get to sleep better, and I think a lot of us know the top 10 tips, but how do you lower cortisol?
That's a great question.
It is a great question. And you know what? If you want to lower your cortisol, you need to lower your stress levels. So here's a couple of things, right?
Sorry for laughing.
It's like, yeah, great. How am I going to do that? Well, I mean, you have your normal things that people say, meditate, go for a walk, watch a funny movie, read a book, journal. And those are all great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also need to learn. So I'm going to go to 3 things. One is you need to learn how to show up for stress differently in the first place. It's like, if you're going to start showing up for stress and your level, my hands are going up over my head, your levels are up here, you're going to be feeling stress right from the beginning. And that's how you walk into life. That's how you show up to life, feeling like I can't believe this is happening. I have to control everything. You need to take a breath and you need to show up going, okay, this is happening. Be a little bit more objective. This is happening. How do I want to deal with this? How do I want to show up in my life? And there's so many different tools that you can work with to help turn this around. I have a whole coaching module in my program just on navigating roadblocks and a huge one on stress. And so there's different ways. I couldn't really get into that, but there's a couple of stresses that people aren't aware of that they're not thinking of as stress. Number 2, because I mentioned the first one, number 2 is you got to stop dieting. Okay, dieting is a huge stress on our body. And it's just, well, if I can't diet, then I can't lose weight. That's not really true. What I like to do is tell people, I'm going to meet you where your metabolism is. I like to call it keeping you on the edge of dieting. So instead of dropping your calories, if you're eating, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. If you're eating 1,500 calories a day and you drop down to 800, your body's going to say, I'm not doing this. That is way too much stress. Chris is laughing. Yeah, that's not happening. You might lose weight for a little while, but it's not going to be sustainable. So what I say is, okay, if you're doing 1,500 calories a day and you're not losing weight at that level, then okay, where is your metabolism? Maybe we go down to 1,300. 1,200 maybe, and see where it is. We have to play with it and find out what works for you and your metabolism. That's what you want to do. Take the diet stress away and eat in a way that's more in alignment with where your metabolism wants you to be right now. And the third stress is exercise. It's like, you're going to run 10 miles a day or hours on the treadmill, or you're going to go into the gym and you're going to do these boot camps for hours and hours. Too much stress on your body. We cannot exercise as often as we used to when we were younger. Too much stress on the body. And our bodies, we mentioned earlier how our cells rejuvenate at a slower rate. Well, guess what? We need more rest in between our workouts as well. Don't work out every single day.
More recovery,
more sleep, more recovery, more downtime, and keep those workouts short. Get in there, work hard. I'm not saying don't work hard because you need to elicit change. So you have to work hard while you're in it, but then get out. Be done in 20 minutes. Be done in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Then go take a walk.
Your business is body and soul coaching, and your website says you focus on fitness, nutrition, and mindset. And we'll talk about each one of those things shortly. But can you tell us how you go about handling all three things for your clients?
Got these balls in the air. It's actually, I have a very unique system set up that's laid out very nicely over the course of 16 weeks, where I'm giving them a base knowledge, I'll put it that way, with each one. So with the nutrition, I am making sure that I am, how do I put this? Even though in a group program, I am making sure that what I am doing is teaching them how to balance their nutrition in a way that I can help them adapt it to them personally. So they have weekly check-ins. Every single one of my clients have a weekly check-in with me. They fill out their check-in. And then because we track like everything, I'm looking at what they've tracked and the answers that they've given me. Every week I'm asking you, did you lose? Did you maintain? Did you gain? Did you have any of these signs and symptoms? And I have a list of signs and symptoms that let me know, okay, hormones are off and we need to change something with your nutrition, because if you balance your nutrition, you balance your hormones. Balance your hormones, that's when you balance your weight. So that's how I work with nutrition. And nutrition, I don't follow any type of diet. It is all habit-based according to the person. The fitness part of it, I do have programs worked out. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm certified not only as a trainer, but also as a orthopedic exercise specialist. I'm very good at mapping out a plan that's going to gradually bring people through different phases where I'm setting them up for success so that they're working not only building muscle, burning fat, but staying injury free. That is super important. We do not have time to be injured. But I'm making sure that when I begin the program, the exercises are geared towards not only getting them what I just mentioned, but also I'm working on mobilization and stabilization. Once I can get through that, then I know I can take them to the next phase and start adding a little bit more weight and start working on strength. Now we've got mobilization, stabilization, and strength. Then I know I can get them to the next level and add a little bit more endurance mixed in with that more of a metabolic conditioning type workout. So I take them through phases, and I also have my clients. Because it's a group program, I'd be thinking, well, okay, cookie cutter, but it's not, because I have each one of them message me as soon as they get their workouts to say, okay, which exercises are not in alignment with you because of physical limitation or an equipment limitation. And then I swap it out so that I actually can customize even within a program that's a group program.
So your programs are group programs.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that they are virtual, that you can work with people anywhere.
People from all over the world. Yes.
Okay. And then, so if someone joins, so you must have certain starting dates, like
rolling.
Okay. So when someone joins, they start in a group, and then how do you get them started?
Wait, how does this work?
I don't want you to repeat everything you just said, but I'm just trying to figure out how that.
No, that's a good question, Jill. That's a good question. So, and this is something else that, like, you think if you're automating, it's like, and this has to do with my B.A.S.E model, right? B.A.S.E that I have everything that has to be balanced, has to be adaptable, sustainable, and effective. So the way I do that, it's a 16-week program, but on that first week, they have an onboarding week before they even get into the program, before they do any exercise, before I even tell them what to do with nutrition. They're with me for 1 week, and they're just logging their food the way they eat now. I'm not going to tell somebody what to do with their nutrition if I have no idea how they eat currently. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of programs make. They say, here, I got this great nutrition plan for you. It's like, well, you don't even know what they're doing first. So they're logging their food. They're getting used to the technology. We even have a check-in before they even start, and they can have a one-on-one with me to make sure I can answer any questions that they have. So I'm looking at in the very beginning, it's like, what's your unique starting point? Where are you starting from? So I know what to do in your first week and therefore move forward.
Well, when you're thinking about mindset, let's say they're into it for a couple of weeks, how do you help your clients stay motivated?
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is.
Because we can't rely just on motivation, because I don't care how motivated somebody is or how dedicated somebody is. You're going to have days where you don't feel like doing it. I have days where I don't feel like doing it. I'm supposed to do lower body today, and I do not want to do it. But a little bit of discipline does have to come into that. You know, you can't just rely on willpower and motivation all the time. But we also, in our group coaching calls, we deal a lot with mindset. So we might be talking about what's your health identity. That's a big one.
What do you mean by health identity?
your health identity. It's what you believe about yourself. Like somebody might think, well, I am an overweight woman in my 50s who deals with a lot of pain and doesn't like to exercise. So if that's your identity of who you are, it's going to be very difficult for you to get up and then exercise and follow through with all of that because you don't believe that's who you are. And we cannot outperform our own identity. So we work a lot with, okay, who do you want to be? What identity do you want to create? What are the gaps between where you think you are now and who you want to be? And start teaching people how to slowly start acting like the person they want to be. And then your brain starts believing it. An example of that would be, I had a client one time who really wanted to be a runner. She always wanted to run. She had kids who ran and she was a coach for them, but she never ended up running. So we had a discussion about that and talked about, well, what does a runner do? How would a runner behave? And she goes, well, a runner would just get up in the morning and go for a run. It wouldn't be a question to be part of their day. And she started getting excited. The next day she went out and ran like over a mile without having ever run before. Now adrenaline definitely kept her going on that for a little bit. I'm not saying she ran a mile every day after that, but it was the fact that she started telling herself, I'm a runner. I am a runner. It's what I do. And if that's what I do, then I have my sneakers sitting by my door ready to go. I have my water ready to go. So you start behaving like the person you want to be.
So if you are sitting around saying, I can't do these things because I'm too old or whatever, and I want to, so it is possible to change that identity to, I'm still this age, but I can do hard things.
Yes, absolutely. And it's necessary. It's necessary because you will continue to self-sabotage. If you don't change the way you think about yourself and what your capabilities are, you are going to end up self-sabotaging along the way. And you may not even realize it. All of a sudden, you get too busy to fit your workout in, or you didn't get a chance to go to the grocery store. Little things will start happening. And that's a definite, a red flag to, okay, you're not believing in this journey. Part of you does not believe this is possible, and you need to start working on your mindset.
Yeah, that's so true. If you don't go to the grocery store, it's really hard to eat healthy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just having that little talk with myself recently. Do goals fall into this? That do you recommend that people set goals for themselves?
Absolutely. I am a big believer in goals. It's in how you set them up that's important. So let's say, and it all comes together, right? It's all this tangled web here. If you set a goal, say somebody needs to lose 100 pounds, that can be very overwhelming. And I'm not saying that somebody should forget about that goal, but if you say, I need to lose 100 pounds, this is never going to happen. I've tried this too many times before and I keep failing. What's the difference? What's going to happen now? If that's the belief, and they say, all right, I'll try it anyways. The back of their mind is saying, you're not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And they will self-sabotage. So even though the goal is a healthy goal, one that they should probably work towards because you want to have a healthy body, you want to be strong, you want to live a long life, that goal at this moment in time is not going to serve that woman. What she needs to do is she says, all right, can I lose 50 pounds? Well, maybe. Can you lose 10 pounds? Of course. There's your goal. If you can say, absolutely, I can do that, that's the goal. By setting smaller goals that feel attainable to you, that are believable to your brain, then you're going to achieve them. Once you achieve them, now your brain starts saying, oh, Jane follows through with what she said she's going to do. Jane accomplishes her goals. Now Jane can make another goal and say, I'm going to try for another 5 or another 10, or you know what? I can do 20. And you slowly build up that confidence. And as you're building up the confidence, your brain is building up the confidence. Then you can start reaching for bigger goals. But you have to start out small. They have to be believable.
Something that you can actually see yourself achieving.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I had this one woman who wanted to go for walks every day for, an hour walk. I have the time. Why can't I do it? And I said, I want you to go for a 5-minute walk. That's it. And she's going, no, that's not going to do anything for me. I said, just trust me, go for 5-minute walks. If you want to go longer, you can, but at 5 minutes, you stop and you say, I've reached my goal and I'm done. You can't beat yourself up. That's what you did. And sure enough, she started going for longer and longer walks. And she's like, oh, I see what you did. She had to believe in what she was saying she was going to do. And you have to be able to follow through, because your brain will also say, no, you don't follow through with what you say you're going to do. So I'm just going to hold you back.
It's easy when you say, I want to do an hour walk, to start thinking, yeah, but I have so many other things to do.
Exactly. And we do. We're all busy.
Right. Well, earlier you talked about people that over-exercise and tend to do too much, which creates stress. But on the flip side of that, there are dangers of living a more sedentary life. And can you outline for us what some of those dangers might be?
The dangers of living a sedentary life? Well, there's obviously obesity, increased cholesterol, a higher heart rate, increased risk of stroke. There's all of those things happening, as well as your body not functioning as well, right? You're going to start getting aches and pains in your hips and your low back. Maybe your posture is off. If you're not exercising your muscles, you're getting weaker. Now you also could have osteoporosis happening. There's so many different things. I mean, I think that this probably could go on endlessly. But I think physically there's more aches and pains, which leads to even more being more sedentary. And now when you're more sedentary, you're more apt to fall, be off balance. And even if finding, cognitively, there's a connection, to our cognitive abilities with our physical abilities.
Wow. Those are significant dangers. Many women say, oh, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to take up running, or I'm going to do various kinds of cardio, and they like to do a lot of cardio to try and lose weight. Does that actually work, or is that effective for?
No, it's not effective. Cardio is a good way to burn some extra calories. It's a good way to exercise your heart. So you do want to exercise your heart muscle for sure, but losing weight really comes from your nutrition. You can't exercise away bad nutrition. That just won't happen. You have to balance your nutrition, because that's how you balance your hormones, and that's how you're going to balance your weight. You can't do that through lots of cardio. And also, especially for women over 50, focus on the strength training. You need to get that muscle on you. That's what's going to create the lean, toned look that people are looking for. Getting that muscle on your body, because if you are not strength training, you are naturally losing about 0.5 pound of lean tissue a year.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot and that's a metabolically active tissue that you're losing. So that's another reason people say, I can't eat like I used to. It's like, well, you don't have the muscle on you like you used to. Start lifting weights. That's going to make the biggest difference. And then sprinkle in a little bit of cardio, because it feels good and it's good to exercise your heart. And it might help burn a few extra calories. But other than that, I would say get out and walk, or do yoga, do other things that are keeping the body moving, that does not increase the cortisol, but does increase your metabolism.
Ah, good advice.
Well, you talked a little bit there about building strength through training. What do you recommend for women over 50 for strength training?
Can you clarify that a little bit more?
Well, let's say someone is doing a lot of cardio and maybe walking along with that, but they have not started doing a lot of strength training to build muscle. They've spent more time, let's say, dieting.
Okay. Well, it depends on where they're at. It's going to be a little bit different for each person.
Okay.
Like if somebody came to me and they had no exercise experience, I probably would be hesitant to just put them into an online program without any experience at all. I'd want to make sure that their form was correct and they were safe. So I would say get a trainer to make sure that your form is correct, and start out with light weights. I am a big advocate for lifting heavy, because that's how I know we put muscle on. I want to lift heavy. I lift heavy myself. But because those light weights, I've told you before, your 5 pound hand weights are keeping you fat. But it's a good place to start to get the movement down first. First, begin with movement and range of motion before you start adding heavy weights. You want to make sure you're safe. Your joints, your ligaments, your tendons, your connective tissue all need to be ready to perform heavier weights.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
You also mentioned about proper recovery. Can you talk about how long you recommend women take for recovery? And is there anything, do we just lie on the couch to recover, or what kind of things do you suggest we do?
Well, I'm not going to advocate being a couch potato.
Okay, well, shoot.
Yeah, sorry, Jill, can't do that. But for recovery, that means getting enough sleep at night. It means making sure you're not lifting weights 7 days a week, that maybe 3 days a week. And it depends. I would love to just give somebody a blanket here. This is exactly what you're going to do. But we are all very unique in our bodies, in our experiences, our history. We're all very unique how our body responds. I mean, I may have a client who responds very well to lifting twice a week because of her history and where she's at. And another one who responds much better to lifting 4 times a week. It really depends on your experience. The most important thing I would say is to listen to your body so that you know, like if you're really sore from a workout, don't go and work out while you're still sore. Rest. Give those muscles a rest. Or if you're doing a full body workout, definitely rest the next day. Let the muscles rest. But if you're doing an upper body workout, the next day you could do a lower body workout. You know, so it's really, it's not a cut and dry answer. I mean, a lot of these things aren't cut and dry because people are just so unique.
Right.
Well, I noticed on your Instagram account that you talk about the 7-step metabolic framework. And what do you mean by metabolic framework?
Well, everything that I do has to do with working with your metabolism. Okay. Which is reducing stress, increasing your muscle, working on even your mindset so that you're not stressing that way. My 7-step framework is my whole program and my whole workshop. So I can't go into too much.
So you can't
go into too much detail on that. I'll give that away. But it's all about learning how to work with your metabolism because that's where it all begins.
Okay. And what benefits does that provide?
Working with your metabolism?
Yeah, with the metabolic framework, the 7-step.
Well, the benefit is that when you learn how to work with your metabolism, you end up having metabolism that's not just sort of stuck. You know, for instance, if you ever hear people say, hey, it doesn't matter what I do, I can't lose weight. Right. Well, they're probably not eating correctly either. But if they keep on trying, they're not losing weight. They've stressed their metabolism to the point where metabolism will slow down and say, I'm not going to do anything. Or the metabolism says, I'm just going to make you crazy hungry and get these kind of hunger cravings and all of that and make you eat more. Instead of when you work with your metabolism becomes a lot more flexible and adaptable to what you're doing. For an example, when I have clients first come to me and they feel like, you know, if I go out to eat one night a week, my weight comes right back on and I can't lose weight. And it's like, all right, so for now, maybe that's what you can't do because your metabolism is not allowing it. But then as we get muscle on people and they learn how to deal with stress and they learn how to recover, learn how to eat properly for their body, and then it'll be like, all right, let's try going out to eat. The metabolism starts picking up a little bit. I'll even have people work with me for a while and then just say, yeah, I'm starting to get hungry, where before they never were hungry because they never ate very much. They're like, I'm really hungry. And it's like, excellent. Your metabolism's waking up. Let's give you more food. And all of a sudden in the beginning of the program where they could not go out to eat, they're finding later on that they're like, oh, wow, I went on vacation and not only did I not gain weight, I actually lost a couple of pounds. And it's like, exactly. Because now your metabolism is working with you. It's working with you and burning what you're putting into your body. That's where you want to be, having a flexible metabolism. There's the benefit.
Thank you.
So that sort of leads to lifestyle. Like, how do you, so when people come to you, do you make suggestions on how they should live? What should they do in a week to have a healthy, fit lifestyle? Do you have some kind of recommendation you make, or do you tell them, like, don't eat at restaurants for the first 6 weeks that we're working together? Or
depends on the person. I hate to keep saying that, but
that's okay.
Because if you have a woman who is, you know, she has a high powered job and she's traveling around and she's, you know, wining and dining clients, she needs to work at a restaurant. So we have to figure out. So what we have to do is figure out how we can tweak your lifestyle, what tweaks you need to make so it fits in with your lifestyle. You know, sometimes people do have to make changes to their lifestyle because the lifestyle they're living is what got them where they are now. So you can't just say, oh, don't worry, don't make any changes, live your life, and we'll just get you in shape. And it's like, sorry, that's a pipe dream.
Right.
You need to be able to make some changes. That's like, tell people, what are you willing to do in order to get to where you want to go? Like I had one client one time who she did phenomenal. She was looking great. And she goes, I want a 6-pack. I really want to get a 6-pack. And then I told her what was involved in getting a 6-pack. And she said, never mind. I'm not going to do that. It's not worth it. It's like, okay. And that's a choice. That's a choice that we all have to make. What are you willing to do and not do? But it looks different for everybody because everybody's body responds differently.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
What about a specific morning routine? Do you have a certain routine that you do?
Yes, I definitely do. I'm a little ADD, and if I do not have my morning routine, it throws me all off. I call it my morning jam because I sit down and I journal. That's very important to me. Writing, I can get energy with like messages for myself and my intuition while I write. Then I work on my affirmations. And it could be different each day. It could be affirmations to do with my personal life, my business life, or just doing a gratitude walk. Then I like to take some time to meditate. I do walking meditations, guided meditations, or just pure silence, and then movement. And so movement could be anything. It could be I got 3 dogs. You guys can see me on video here, not in the podcast, but I've got dog crates behind me. I've got 3 dogs. So I'm constantly walking my dogs. Or I might go for a run, or I might do some cardio workout in the morning, or stretching or something like that. So that's what I like to do. It sets me up for success for the day.
So mindset first and then movement. Got it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit about food. What are the reasons that diets don't work, especially for women over 50, and what should they do instead?
Well, the whole diet industry I feel like the diet industry is a sham. It's like, well, Lisa, you're a part of it. But the reason diets don't work is because they typically will put you on very low calories, or they take all your carbs away, or like they do things in a way that are just not sustainable, and they don't teach anybody anything. It's like, here, eat this way and you'll lose weight. They finish eating that way, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? Because that's not how I want to live my life, having a shake and then another shake and then a dinner, a salad for dinner every day. And it's like, yeah, it worked, but how long can you sustain that? So that's the problem, I think, with the diet industry. Whatever you need to do, and this is what you should do instead, is find something that is sustainable. I say, people come to me and I say, no, I'm not going to give you a meal plan. They say, no, just tell me what to eat and I will follow it. It's like, but that won't serve you. You're not going to learn anything. I need to teach you how to be your own nutritionist, so that you can figure this out. I'm not going to not guide somebody. I'm definitely going to guide them and say, make sure you get your protein in, make sure, I'm going to give them all different guidelines to make sure that they have a well-balanced meals and a day and a week. And then each week we're going to continue to tweak it. That's what you need to do. You need to track your food. You need to analyze it and then tweak it. Track it, analyze, tweak it. Did you do great? Did you lose weight? Good. Stay there. Don't change anything.
Got it.
Did it not work? Maybe you need to change something.
And you help them figure out what to change.
Right. Yeah. Now that's getting more into the science. That's what I help my clients do, figuring out what to change, like based on like I mentioned earlier, did you lose, maintain, or gain weight? And if they gained weight, but they're really still, but they're hungry, it's like, okay, what's going on? Do we have to lower one macronutrient, increase another one? It could be that they don't have enough vegetables. There's so many different factors involved in it. But the thing is, you have to be patient and learn how to, okay, let's change this, be consistent so you know what to do, and then analyze it again.
I think earlier you mentioned this, but we didn't talk about it. So this is a good time. A habit-based approach to nutrition. What is that?
So that's just like I was talking about, when you get somebody eating a certain way and you keep tweaking it as you're going. So this is what's the best way to describe this? Like if somebody, take the person who goes out to eat a lot and they're going out to eat, and it's like, okay, well, is that a habit that you can sustain and with having a healthy body? And if it's not, then we have to either change what they're eating when they're going out or change how often they're going out. Or if somebody doesn't get enough protein in, we might say, okay, you know what? We're going to focus on getting your protein in. Let's focus on that habit and nail that habit and then move on to the next habit.
Okay. All right. So it's basically identifying something and working on making it a habit, something that you just do without, so that if I make a habit of, I'm going to order certain types of food in a restaurant, that's what I'm going to work on it until I don't even think about.
Exactly.
Or maybe the habit is tracking, Yeah.
Well, I quit drinking soda a good while ago. And, I wandered into the aisle one time in the grocery store, and I actually had this moment of shock, like, oh yeah, people buy this. People are still drinking this.
It became that habit now became your lifestyle. That's what I tell people. It has to.
Yeah, it's like I just totally forgot that it was an option.
Exactly. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just skip that aisle, you forget all about the pop, right?
There you
or
go.
Soda.
Here in Massachusetts, we say tonic.
Tonic.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of different words.
Yeah. Here in Ohio, tonic is something totally different.
Yeah, that's funny.
So you do have your clients track macros.
Yes, absolutely. I need to know how to help them. If I'm going to help them, they have to track it. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, I didn't track this week. It's like, well, then I have nothing to say.
Am I going to help
I don't know
you?
what
Yeah.
you did.
What do you have them use for tracking?
Well, I do have my own app.
Okay.
So there's a nutritional tracker within my app, but I also can connect to MyFitnessPal and have them track through that too. That's the most popular one.
Yeah.
Okay. And some of us have large bodies of data in these apps. So
yeah. When you set your recipes all up in MyFitnessPal, it's really hard to switch to something else.
Exactly. So I can connect to that so I can see what the heck is going on.
Okay, that's great. And do you suggest anything like intermittent fasting or eating in a certain window time frame or eating windows, any of that kind of thing?
No, studies have shown that, whether it's intermittent fasting, keto, whatever it is, first off, they're all doing the same thing. They're doing something so that you are at a caloric deficit. With keto, they're taking all of your carbs away and saying, just have your protein and fat. And there's a deficit there. With intermittent fasting, shorten out the window that you're eating, they're creating a deficit there, which you're going to end up losing weight that way. If somebody's lifestyle fits well with keto, I am not a proponent of that, but if it fits well with them, I will work with them. But I'm going to ask them, is this a lifestyle you want to lead? Like I had one woman tell me, well, keto gets the weight off, but I don't want to live that way. So I'm going to do this. And then afterwards, and I'm like, okay, stop. It's not going to work. You need to figure out, it has to go with your lifestyle. If somebody wants to do intermittent fasting and they're on my program, they absolutely can do that. But I'm going to make sure I'm going to be working with them throughout to tweak that intermittent fasting so that it works for them. So for instance, you have intermittent fasting, but you can't just eat whatever you want during those hours that you're supposed to eat. That still has to be balanced nutrition that you're going to be eating during those hours. So I'm going to work with them on that.
I was going to say it would be quite possible to eat a fair number of calories in a small window of time.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to go eat cheesecake all day. You can put 10,000 calories on it a day quite easily.
Well, I was going to go back to the macros. We talked a little bit about that. When you're tracking it in MyFitnessPal or in your app, do you have any advice on how to figure out which macros, or is that something that's done individually for each person?
It's done individually for each person.
Okay.
But in general, don't use what MyFitnessPal has. Okay. I think MyFitnessPal defaults, I don't know what the defaults are, but it's something ridiculous. It's like 20% protein and maybe 50 or 60%
carbs
on the, I can't remember what it is, but it's not balanced for women.
Is there a formula that you would recommend for us to start at?
I would say first start with your protein. I would just start, if I could give you any advice, it would be start with your protein and get that protein up to 35%. Studies have shown that if you are trying to lose weight, if you have your protein at about 35% of your calories, that's going to help you hold on to and or build muscle while you're trying to lose weight. And that's an important one. The most important thing you do is get your protein in. The carbs and fats are different for everybody.
And then the remaining 70 or 65 to 70% just split between the carbs and the fat.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, exactly. You could start there, track that, and then you have to adjust to what's going to work for your body. There is no magic formula.
No, I get that, but
everybody's body composition is different, and they're starting from different levels of their metabolism and their habits.
Yes. And our gut health is different, right?
Right.
Our gut health is
gut
different.
health. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Right.
Yeah. It's everything. There's so many factors go into it. That's why it's so key that the most important thing you can do is just start tracking and analyzing what's going on. Did this work? Did it not work? If it didn't work, then you got to change something. Don't change everything. Just change something so you can then track that.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So we know that nutrition can affect our fitness and our weight, and as you said, our metabolism, but can it also affect our moods?
I think so. I think so. Just think about if you had a day where you were eating, we'll just call it junk food all day. You didn't have any vegetables. You ate junk. You were at a party or something. I mean, you probably would feel pretty groggy, maybe a little moody. Our food does affect our hormones. Our hormones can affect our moods. They definitely can be off, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you recently ran the ultimate weight loss workshop for women over 50. And can you describe a little bit of what was in the workshop? And will you be running another workshop soon?
I actually ran it twice because so many people wanted to hear that again. So I ran it twice. I just ran it again for the second time in 2 months. That is all about my 7-step framework, metabolic framework.
Got it.
Yeah. If I run, I don't have a date for when I'm going to run that again, but I will probably run it again in the fall sometime.
Yeah. Well, if you let us know, we'll make sure that we add that to our show notes and things like that so that, people that want to learn more about your program can find out through that workshop.
Oh, excellent. That would be wonderful.
I just want to go back to, there were a couple of things that you've sort of mentioned. One is eating for having a healthy gut. Do you have any advice on that?
Well, one is de-stressing is really important for gut health, keeping those stress levels down, eating clean, getting rid of processed foods, eating foods that are high in antioxidants like blueberries, all the berries, probably, fermented foods like tempeh, kimchi, sauerkraut, all of those things, those fermented foods, those are all things that do help your gut health. Now, some people will say take a probiotic or a prebiotic because we have both pre and probiotics in our gut. And one is the healthy bacteria and the other is what feeds the healthy bacteria. So I always say, well, how do you know which one you're low in? If you're low in one and then you're upping the other one, then aren't you going to create more of an imbalance? So I always say to people, get a pre-probiotic, get one that has both of them.
Oh, okay.
And we do something like that. Yeah. And listen to your body. Listen to your body. Like I know if I eat really big meals, I have found over the years, if I have a meal that's high, very high in protein, too high in protein and fiber, I will get very bloated and it'll be very uncomfortable. So I have to make sure to keep my meals a little bit smaller, and spread out, throughout the day. And other people do very badly with that. Their digestion seems to work better when they have a little bit more time. That's where intermittent fasting might help somebody who has a very sensitive digestive system that needs to have more rest. It's all different. It's, I think listening to your body, seeing how that helps. I am going to be running a 4-day challenge coming up in another month. We will be touching on gut health, and the nutrition for those few days will all be around gut health.
Oh, okay. And the other thing that you mentioned that I want to ask about is alcohol. Do you have any opinion about
yes,
women over 50 drinking alcohol?
Well, I have lots of opinions. I'm very opinionated, but I don't expect everybody to listen to my opinions. So alcohol, I don't drink because I just don't enjoy it. I never have. So that's why I don't drink it. I think people have to realize, like, if they say, well, I like having my glass of wine every night. It's like, well, if that's holding you back from getting to your goal, then you want to rethink that and have something else, because that definitely can hold you back. Not just the calories. Remember, alcohol is a toxin. And when you put a toxin in your body's like, I've got to deal with this. Before I can do anything else, I've got to keep this body safe and I need to deal with it. So when you have drunk alcohol for the next 24 hours, or depending on how much you drink, it could be 48 hours, your body cannot build muscle and it cannot burn fat. It's just dealing with that alcohol, that toxin.
Oh, wow.
That's an interesting way to look at it, isn't it?
Yes. It's not serving you at all. But on the other hand, I'm not saying don't ever drink alcohol, because I don't think that's realistic. People should have to go out and have a drink and enjoy themselves and do that. Just make sure that it's what you're doing is at alignment with your goals as well as your lifestyle. Those two things have to go together. And I always say to people, you have a decision to make. If your lifestyle does not align with your goals, then one or the other has to change. Either change your lifestyle or change your goal.
And having a drink makes it harder to get a good night's sleep. and therefore harder to get up and do the things that you need to do, your morning jam, like for instance.
Exactly. Exactly. Or what about this, Chris? Your inhibitions are lowered. You're much more, they show when people drink, they're much more apt to keep like munching.
Oh yeah. The munchies.
And,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that too. Right. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. All right. All right. So do you have any tips for women who do fine during the week, but then the weekend comes and all bets are off?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Again, you have to change your lifestyle because you can't. I always tell people, and I need a better word for cheat meal because it's not a cheat meal. It's an indulgence. If you say you go out on the weekend and you're going to go out to dinner and that dinner just like ramps into breakfast the next morning and a brunch and then, whatever, that's a trigger for you. You need to know what your triggers are and stay away from them. If you have a goal, so this comes into discipline, it comes into knowing your triggers, knowing what you can and can't do. If you can have, say, somebody goes out for pancakes in the morning and that carbohydrate is going to make them just want more carbohydrates. So don't go for the pancakes. Go for something else. Maybe you go to dinner and you get a nice omelet instead if you eat eggs, or you get avocado toast. Something that's not going to be a trigger, but makes you feel like you've had a treat. Then you don't feel deprived, but you've also had something that you enjoy. I would say go for something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and discipline does play a role too.
Yeah, yes.
For sure.
You gotta have a little bit of discipline in there as well.
Yeah.
So how do you personally eat? I think I saw somewhere that you're vegan. Is that correct?
Yes. I've been vegan for about 10 years.
And what made you choose that type of eating?
Well, actually it was ethical. It was the abuse of the animals is what made me go there. It's not that I don't believe our bodies were meant to digest meat. I mean, obviously we digest it. We can do that in different parts. You go into history, depending on where our ancestors were. Some ate meat, some didn't. They certainly didn't eat meat to the extent that we eat it now. I mean, they weren't, killing animals every single day. It was difficult for them to do that. So I think it was more of an occasional thing. And if people ate that way, it'd probably be a lot healthier and our planet would be a lot healthier and there'd be a lot less abuse with all these animals. So that's what drove me to going vegan was I knew that I believe our money should go into things that we believe. And I don't ever want to support an industry that I am against. So I'm not going to give the meat industry, the dairy industry, any of my money. So I decided to go vegan, and it was a nice side effect. I also used to suffer from a severe IBS, and for 15 years, doctors could not figure it out. I went to doctor after doctor and nothing helped. And until I went vegan and it all went away.
Wow.
It just completely gone, never had to deal with it again. So I know for me, this is the right way to eat. That's when people say, well, how do you eat? And I said, well, you probably don't want to eat like me. My husband's not vegan. One of my daughters is vegan. The other one is, actually she used to be vegetarian and she's starting to lean back towards that again. But so it's like we get all different meals being cooked.
Yeah. As long as no one's asking you to cook the hamburger, I guess.
No, they know I won't touch it. I refuse.
Yeah.
I won't go there.
We were just talking about macros and now we're talking about being vegan. So how do you get your protein?
Oh, there's so many ways. Tofu. I love my tofu. I have a plant-based protein drink. There's tempeh. Those are both soy-based. There's seitan, which is actually a wheat gluten. There's lentils and chickpeas and black beans. There are and even vegetables have some protein in them. It's like sometimes you just have to stack it. Like sometimes I will have a dish that has a lot of broccoli, which has a lot of protein in it. I add some lentils to it, which also has some protein. I add some nutritional yeast, which also has some protein. And I end up with 25 grams of protein in that meal. There's loads of options out there for protein.
Okay. Well, that's always the one thing that you hear as, well, the problem with going vegan is that you can't get any protein.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, I get at least 100 grams of protein in a day.
Wow.
On a vegan diet.
And what about breakfast? Do you have a certain vegan breakfast that you eat every day?
My go-to is a protein shake. Because I like it. It fills me up. It gets my fruit in. I use fresh fruit, a vegan protein powder, a nut milk, and that does it for me. It's quick. It's easy. Cause I like to I get that whole long morning routine I have to do.
Right. That's what I was thinking. You don't have time for cooking. Right.
I don't have time for that.
You do have a lengthy morning routine. So yeah.
I do. I have a very my morning routine. I like to get up and have like 2 hours, 3 hours before I have to do anything.
Wow. Okay. I like those kinds of mornings myself. But it sounds like yours is a little more productive than mine. If our listeners want to find you online, where would they go?
Best place to find me online. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok now. I actually took up TikTok now at Lisa Swanson Fit. Yeah, it's fun. It's an interesting journey. So that would be at Lisa Swanson Fit. And on Facebook, it's Lisa Swanson Health Coach.
So on Instagram and TikTok, you are Lisa Swanson Fit.
Correct.
And on Facebook, you are Lisa Swanson Health Coach.
Right.
We'll make sure that we put those links in the show notes too. Yeah.
Do you have a website that you send people to?
Yes, bodyandsoulcoaching.com.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. It's just been a pleasure talking with you, Lisa.
Oh, it has been wonderful to be here. And I really appreciate you guys inviting me on here. It was wonderful.
Well, thank you. You've given us a lot to think about. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you've been great. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
You know, Joe, I really liked what Lisa had to say about habit-based nutrition. You just have to create the habit of how you want to eat.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot easier, I think, to have the habit of snacking and eating desserts and whatever, but it's certainly possible to create healthier habits.
Yeah, it really is a constant focus and very much a mental game. And I like what Lisa thinks about a lot of the mental aspects of trying to be fit and strong. And I thought what she had to say about cortisol was helpful too.
Yeah, that's related to stress. And she was big on trying to reduce your stress to reduce the cortisol.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I was thinking about her morning meditations and affirmations and doing her morning routine. And that very much is a way to reduce cortisol, which typically spikes early in the morning. For someone who has trouble with cortisol, I am constantly trying to reduce stress and figure out other ways, whether it's getting a good night's sleep or meditation and that type of thing.
That can be a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I also liked what she had to say about eating and tracking your macros and tracking your food.
Yes.
Like in MyFitnessPal, a good starting point was to just focus on the protein and get 30 to 35% of your nutrients, your macros through protein.
Right. We don't think about the macros all that much sometimes when we're tracking. And that really is one of the keys to understanding your nutrition.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Basically, you figure out your protein 30 to 35%, and then you just split the balance between however you want between carbs and fat. Some people prefer more carbs. Some people prefer more fat.
Yeah.
Just do what works for you. And then she did make the point that do that. And if it's not working, that's when you start to tweak it.
Yes.
There's no magic formula that we can all just follow.
Yeah, everyone's different in their gut health. And she mentioned that too. And I thought that was an important point. You know, she, as a vegan, you know, getting protein's really important. It's important for everyone, but I think there's different things that you do when you're eating vegan than you do if you're eating meat or even vegetarian.
Right. When you eliminate the eggs and dairy. But she gave us lots of great sources of protein and
the lentils and beans. Right.
Yeah. About stacking your food. So like you might not get, like if you eat meat, you're going to get a lot of protein just from the meat. But if you're not eating meat, you can get protein from multiple sources.
Right.
That was a good point.
Yeah, very much.
I also liked how she talked about changing your metabolism with how you eat. I have never really thought about it that way. I always think of, I just never thought of it in quite the way that she expressed it.
Yeah, she had some interesting thoughts on all of that. And I enjoyed listening to some of her ideas there that I'm going to try to implement. Well, I'd like to hear from our listeners about losing weight and keeping it off, living a fit and healthy life. Tell us what you thought about our conversation today.
Yes, we'd love to hear about how you handle food, fitness, and mindset. I think mindset is the hardest for me at times. So if you have any insights, please feel free to share.
Yeah, everything kind of starts with behavior and then mindset. But
yeah, sure like, does.
Mindset's hard to get to behavior, But anyway, you can reach us at our website, becomingellie.com, or on any of our social media accounts. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And also be sure to join our private Facebook group where we encourage and support each other.
It's great how we get to know each other in the Facebook group. That's how we knew about Lisa Bartlett racing her triathlon. There really are a lot of Lisas today.
Yeah, we sure covered a lot today, Jill. I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
I am too. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.